Today we're going over exclusive information from Treyarch about Black Ops 6 Zombies when it comes to the difficulty, when it comes to high rounds, as well as how hard the Easter egg quests are going to be this year compared to Cold War. As I got to see and play Black Ops 6 Zombies at Treyarch Studios last week, and in that session we also had a Q&A where we got to learn from Treyarch themselves exactly how difficult this game's going to be, Easter eggs, high rounds, all of that. So let's just dive straight into it. But to make sure you don't miss other videos like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button, and if you find this video informative, drop a thumbs up. Let's first dive into the high rounds for Black Ops 6 Zombies, because if we look at Black Ops Cold War, we see that from round 55 onwards, the game gets more difficult with super sprinters, but up until that point and past that point, nothing else happens in the game that makes it more difficult. And Treyarch said this time around in BO6, they're trying to find different ways to make the high rounds harder, where it's not just super sprinters where the difficulty ends. They're still trying to figure out something that's going to make it harder, but something that you can ease into and ramp up into it a little bit better. But they couldn't really talk about that right now, as they're still deciding exactly which dials they want to turn up in the high rounds. But fundamentally, it is going to be a harder game for you to get to round 100 on this time around than it was in Black Ops Cold War, where it felt like on every single map there was just a great spot with a certain weapon where it was almost too easy to get to round 100. In the same breath, I'm sure Treyarch were happy to see a lot more players getting to round 100. They want people to experience high rounds and get further in the game. And following on from the massive blog post that Treyarch had for the Zombies reveal, there are a few more details about higher rounds that they mentioned, where they mentioned that the zombies will start to move with increased swiftness from a shamble to run to sprint. So that basically confirms super sprinters are returning. But they mentioned that the horde itself will grow as the rounds increase, which is typical of high rounds. There are a lot more zombies per round as the rounds go on. But they have specifically mentioned that the frequency of armored and heavy zombies will be higher. The manglers, there'll be a lot more per round. The parasites per round, as well as the grotesque amalgams. Now, I personally didn't come across one of these in my game, but you can see from the B-roll, these look to be similar to the Thrasher zombies from Zetsubo no Shima. It sounds like they will take a lot of effort to take out. And if, unlike Cold War zombies like D-Machine, for example, where the elite zombie of that map only spawned in every few rounds, it sounds like you're going to be getting some combination of these elite zombies spawning in every single round. And all of the zombies listed is plural, which makes it sound like there could be multiple of the amalgams, parasites, manglers every single round. It will also be interesting to see if Treyarch have adjusted the zombies health cap from what it was in Black Ops Cold War. Well, until Season 3 Reloaded, the zombies health capped at round 40, which was 30,000 damage. And by the end of the 4th season, Treyarch had increased the zombies health cap by 4, where it was 120,000 health, and the zombies health would keep increasing until round 85. When it comes to the round cap, I really wish I asked this question at Treyarch, but in Cold War, the round cap I believe was round 255, but then after a lot of time, the game got updated to where it would actually show the correct round past 255, and I believe the highest round ever achieved in Cold War's round-based zombies is 935. There was a massive jump between Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4's high round cap, so it's interesting to see if they would have changed it again in this game to support even higher rounds, especially now considering that the game has the save and quit, which theoretically means players could keep playing for a very, very long time before they either die in their game or they just want to stop playing. But they've said fundamentally it's going to be more difficult to get to round 100, and there's a few quality of life changes they've made to make the game harder. The first being that they've limited how many self-revives you can craft in a game, where in Cold War you could craft an infinite amount as long as you had the amount of salvage, which obviously was pretty game breaking. So across both solo matches and any number of players in co-op, all players will be limited to 3 self-revives that can be crafted as a maximum. I think this is a really good change, because this makes it essentially just like it was for quick revive back in the day for solo play, where you only had those 3 self-revives. Another big change to difficulty in Black Ops 6 is that they do not have weapon skills in this game, unlike Cold War, where you could spawn into the game where you were straight buffed a huge percentage, and that was across everything, including having more damage on every type of weapon, as well as field upgrades doing more damage and having more abilities, perks having more abilities. There is nothing focused on leveling up any classes in Black Ops 6, so you won't be spawning in with a massive amount of buffs straight away. There are some major augments which take the abilities from the tier 5 upgrades upgrades from Cold War zombies, and one of the examples given was for Deadshot Daiquiri. There's an augment that focuses on increasing the critical damage. So these sort of buffs that we saw in Cold War are not completely removed, but it's just not as OP because there isn't as many of them that you can have active at one time. So in a way, the game is being made harder because the 5 tiers of upgrades from Cold War is being removed. So again, it's all up to your playstyle on what buffs you want to bring into the game. Even though some of the tier 5 upgrades are returning, you can only have one of those buffs, so now they're less powerful. Based on my one zombies game at Treyarch on an early version of Black Ops 6 Zombies, the game did start to feel pretty hard from between round 15 to round 20, as you now rely on points to buy the armor off the wall, and these are pretty expensive. So having the perfect setup before going for the high round, which includes that tier 3 armor as well as having your weapon all the way to the highest rarity, is going to take a lot longer this time. And in the fact that all of the ammo mods are now part of the arsenal machine, which costs quite a lot of salvage, you're gonna have to get a lot of salvage in the game so you can really set yourself up with everything. Let's move on to talking about the main Easter egg quest difficulty in Black Ops 6, because a question was asked on what is the comparison of the difficulty in these quests compared to older Black Ops games, because Black Ops 3 was pretty hard and Black Ops 4 had some really hard quests, while Cold War was obviously a lot easier, and that was an intentional design change to get more people involved. So how can we expect it on this game? And they said in terms of difficulty, they have the guided mode for the Easter egg, which is stepping people through stuff in terms of the mystery of things such as the puzzles and the challenge element, and that's something they consider, but they are trying to make the main Easter egg quests more difficult for standard mode, and they would say that on record this will have harder Easter eggs than Cold War. But then challenge wise as well, there's a lot of ways that you'll be able to eventually buff yourself up with those augments, but because there is so many, it's going to take a while to unlock them. They're making that a challenge off the gate, so it should be a harder challenge to overcome. Specifically on the Easter egg design philosophy in Cold War, in addition to making some things a little easier, they were trying to have actual logic involved with the main Easter egg steps, that connective tissue between steps, so you're not doing completely random things like hopping on one foot as an example. They're trying to keep that element of it, but in terms of discoverability, it should be harder to find things. And they said that it should be harder than Cold War zombies to just run around and find things as easy as it was in Cold War. But they also don't want it to be where you have to shoot a completely random object that doesn't make any sense. That to them isn't a challenge, and they don't want that. And we recently just heard officially from the developers as well that specifically on Terminus's main quest, it's going to be very difficult.
It's a beast of a main quest. You know, it'll use the ocean, it'll use the islands, it'll use every part of the map proper. It's one of the bigger maps we've created.
Considering how big this map is, the fact that every part of the map is going to be used for the main quest, and it's going to be hard, and it's a beast of a main quest, that's really exciting to hear. But they said when it comes to other Easter eggs that aren't the main quest, then anything goes, which is quite exciting. So there could actually be some real difficulty and vagueness to some of the side Easter eggs this time around. Treyarch also said that they are very confident that the amount of side Easter eggs in Terminus is going to be the biggest amount of side Easter eggs that there's ever been in a zombies map. They used Shadows of Evil as the example in their presentation about the last map they're aware of that has the most amount of side Easter eggs, and they're pretty confident that the amount of side Easter eggs is going to rival the amount we're going to see in Terminus, which if they're anything like Shadows of Evil, it's going to be some that are going to be very vague and very difficult to find as well as figure out, which is an absolutely huge win, as that is something that we as a community just absolutely love. So seeing more of that is a fantastic thing, and a lot of us rate zombies maps based on just how much content and side Easter eggs are packed in. I just hope that this time around these side Easter eggs have much better rewards than the side Easter eggs that they had in Cold War. That's going to wrap it up for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and you learned something new. If you did, be sure to smash the thumbs up button, and if you want to see more Black Ops 6 Zombies, make sure to subscribe with the notifications on, because I'll have live gameplay of the Liberty Falls Zombies map here on the channel on August 28th. If you want to learn even more about Black Ops 6 Zombies, then click this video